Hi folks, right, this is the third and final part in the David Southall trilogy. It's not going to be very long because I'm going to close this off with GMC hearings and outcomes and what happened over those years. So I'm going to read this out. Now we spoke about the parents who one lady who was accused of causing the death of her child when actually the child had committed suicide. We also spoke about when he made the very bold statement off of the back of watching a TV interview with Sally Clark's husband, Stephen Clark, and he turned around and said to the world and his dog and cat that actually it wasn't Sally Clark who was guilty of killing the babies, it was Stephen off of the back. He'd never met the guy. So there was problems around him. He has the overseas charity. When he was struck off and told he shouldn't be working with when he was told by the GMC he shouldn't be working with pregnant women and babies like neonates, he was over in Africa with his charity doing exactly that. Now, I would never have known about that had it not come to my door through work at that stage. So we're here. So I'm just reading. I've tried to find a proper chronology of this, and it's really difficult because it ping pongs backwards and forwards, just because of the nature of how like GMC works and the way that everything is written. Because it's just a pain. Right. So I know that from 2004, complaints, I believe before 2004, complaints were going into the GMC with regards to this doctor, but I can only speak about what I learned around that time, and I only learned of this in 2004. There was quite a destructive group out there, and this is going to be quite controversial considering the topic and the fact that this Dr. David Southall, there was a lot with him, and I'm by no means sticking up for him, but there was a group called Mama, and they whilst they went after Roy Meadows and they went after David Southall. Now, there were problems with Roy Meadows, as we know, because he was culpable for the terrible statistics that put Angela Cannings in prison, and also Sally Clark, and I believe Trupti Patel. Did she go to prison? No, I think she was remanded in custody, and actually when her trial went through, because all this was going on, she actually got a not guilty. But there was plenty of other people, because it wasn't, Meadows and Southall were working in this child protection arena, and we don't know all of the cases that were out there at that time, because it wasn't just women that were being accused of this, it was men being convicted, not so much Munchausen by proxy, but just, you know, shaken baby and smothering and stuff like that. It's not trivial, is it? I shouldn't say stuff like that, but as it turned out, people were convicted off of very dodgy science. So let's get, but there was problems with the Mama group. They were like a vigilante group who were going after many professionals, and not all the professionals had been on the side of the prosecution. You know, they were going after people. They were going after psychologists and reporting them to the British Psychological Society and things like that. And like, I saw it firsthand. It was really, it could have been all right, but it's like a lot of these groups, isn't it? It starts off with good intentions, and then it gets infiltrated by people, and it all went like vigilantism, and it was really unpleasant what was being done to some of these professional people. They never recovered from, never financially or professionally recovered from, but we don't hear about that. I might do this another day, but this is a raw topic, and from sort of like the end of September through to December, these are not good months. I hate this time of year just because it was Charlotte's birthday, and then it's coming up to the time when she died. So I hate this time of year. As soon as January gets here, I'm very pleased. Right, anyway, continue. Right, in 2004, so I'm just going to read this out. I'm not going to read it all out because there's pages and pages of it, and I think I know who wrote half of this, and it wasn't me. In 2004, following more complaints from the Mama campaign and Mr. Clark, Professor Southall was found guilty of serious professional misconduct by the General Medical Council after alleging to police child protection officer that the husband of Sally Clark, a mother convicted of murdering her 2 babies, was himself almost certainly responsible for murdering the couple's children. Professor Southall made the claim in confidence to a child protection officer at Staffordshire Police after watching a television documentary about the case, as he was concerned about the safety of the surviving child. He subsequently presented his evidence to a formally convened child protection case conference, members of which expressed their view to the GMC hearing that his input was important. Despite this, a GMC panel banned Professor Southall from child protection work for 3 years. Right, so this is when he goes off. I mean, he's had this charity for a long time, but so he gets sort of like he's not allowed to do this anymore. So he buggers off overseas. From what I can make out, the majority of these 3 years, he's in and out of the country, but he's got his charity overseas. Where are we? Sorry. Despite this, a GMC panel banned Professor Southall from child protection work for 3 years for 3 years. The Council of Health Regulatory Excellence challenged their decision as insufficient and argued that he should be deregistered, but a High Court Justice decision in 2005 held that the sanction was not unduly lenient. In the GMC Medical Council's subsequent publication, Protecting Children and Young People, the Responsibilities of All Doctors, July 2012, and active 3rd September 2012. There's a reference here. Blah, blah, blah. Right, skip that bit. In February 2007, so what have we gone from 2004, the end of 2004, 5, 6, 7, yeah, so he's on his ban, or he's just coming off of his 3 years. In February 2007, the Attorney General, Lord Goldsmith, following a further campaigning by the Mama Group, announced that a review would be held into a number of criminal cases in which Southall had given evidence of prosecution, following allegations that his hospital department had kept up to 4,450 separate case files containing specialist clinical data on child patients, mainly referred from other hospitals and including some child protection cases. These were kept separate from standard hospital records, but with a link to them which was fully known by hospital administrators. This investigation revealed no evidence that Professor Southall's action had harmed criminal investigations. I don't know, because no one ever saw these files. So yeah, I guess if you haven't seen them, there's no evidence, is there? I've got a different view on that. But nothing's changed here. Nothing's changed here. The opinion of these doctors, and they can say what they like because they will just go, well, that's my opinion. And kind of, that's fine. There's problems here. There's still problems here. On 4th of December 2007, Southall was struck off the medical register after being found guilty of professional misconduct by the General Medical Council in another child protection case. Southall appealed against the decision in the High Court, but the appeal was dismissed. In his judgment, Mr. Justice Blake stated that Southall had speculated on non-medical matters in an offensive manner entirely inconsistent with the status of an independent expert. However, this ruling was subsequently overturned by the Court of Appeal in 2010. Neither the GMC panel nor Mr. Justice Blake understood the importance of the presence of an independent senior social worker during the interview with the mother who had brought the complaint to the GMC. The mother, who was part of the long-standing Mama campaign against the child protection work described above, explained that Professor Southall had accused her of murdering her son. He did do that. Professor Southall denied this. The senior social worker present and taking notes throughout the interview gave evidence that the mother's allegation was incorrect, and also denied that Professor Southall had made that accusation. I don't believe that. Not for a minute. Where are we? On May, oh God, this guy, it's just like, he's just here, isn't he? Right, in 2009, BBC done a panorama, which I think I linked up part one of it. And you can find it on YouTube, but you can't find the whole thing anymore. And it was a panorama called A Very Dangerous Doctor. This programme raised serious concerns about the way in which child protection work had been investigated and damaged by the GMC and other inappropriate inquiries. The interest group Professionals Against Child Abuse subsequently commented in the medical journal The Lancet that the GMC should never have brought this case against Southall and criticised disciplinary proceedings brought against other doctors involved in child protection work. Well, yeah, that's exactly what was going on. Because you'd had the Meadows thing and you'd had the Southall thing coming out, and it was all in the press. And of course, all these other doctors, now neither of these two doctors were involved in Charlotte's case whatsoever, but other shady characters were liars. I'm going to say liars because I've got Home Office documentation to prove that the pathologist who stood there perjured himself. So, yeah. They did all shit themselves. They did. They were like, grouped together, fuck. Because what no one realises is whilst these people are there, oh yeah, I'm under this hospital or I'm under Great Ormond Street Hospital, their actual clinical days of working in these hospitals is minimal because they spend so much time being court experts, be that for the family court or for the criminal court. And the money is not small. You're talking $3,000 for a report, and they won't write one, they'll write loads. Then you've got their day rates of turning up to trial. Now, I wouldn't even know what they are now, and I think it was about $1,000 a day or something like that. I mean, it was big business, and it still is big business. Sorry, this top's riding down. So there was a bit of a panic going on with regards to, oh God, you know, like we don't all want to get called out here. So yeah, everybody was writing to the Lancet and backing doctors and all the rest of it because maybe they didn't want to be next. And I can understand them not wanting to be next because some of the complaints that were going into the GMC through this mama group were vexatious complaints. So you see where you've got like, it just, and so it just ruined everything, to be honest. There still is, I still believe there are massive problems in these trials, be they family court trials or criminal court trials. There is still a problem here when it comes to medical evidence. If you was in a criminal trial and it was circumstantial evidence, then you'd have a good chance of winning your case. When these doctors start talking to like normal people like you and me, you still have that. Well, I don't, because I trust my doctor at my peril. But prior to seeing all of this, I would give the word of a doctor credibility. So you're up against it. You're up against it when you're not a medical person and you're being accused of something. So, yeah, that's how anyway, we digress. On the 1st of June 2009, Professor Southall was subject of an episode. Oh, we've done that bit. You can look that up on the thing, and I think I played a bit of it where Dr. Paul Johnson, had his say. And I do know Dr. Paul Johnson. Got quite a funny story about him, but I better not. Oh no, nothing terrible, but it's just funny. On the 4th of May 2010, Professor Southall was back on the medical register after winning his action in the Court of Appeal, and in a long-running dispute with the GMC, the appeal court's decision meant that he was able to practice medicine again. In September 2011, the GMC dropped its last remaining case against Professor Southall involving the issue of a special case files raised by the campaign, Mamas, and the Attorney General in 2017. Professor Southall stated that this final closure of the GMC case in September 2011 was a victory over an orchestrated and dangerous campaign which has waged a war over 16 years against my work in trying to protect children from life-threatening abuse. He continued to request the GMC apologise for his misguided approach to his work and for breaching his right to fair trial within a reasonable timeline. He's having a laugh there, isn't he? He didn't get that apology, as far as I know. As far as I know, he didn't get that apology. So there we go. The GMC dropped the case files on that, so no one ever knew what was in them. So that them 4,400 odd documents were never, files, not documents, files, were never seen. Now they could be 2-page files or they could be 100-page files, but they weren't seen. So I don't know. There's still questions, isn't there? Well, he had a grand old time after that. Let's have a look. In November 2010, so this is like recent work. So in 2010, Southall organised international conference for International Child Health Group for the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health in the UK. Then in 2011, he was invited to be the keynote speaker for David Harley Lecture, an annual UK neonatal update in London, which was published as a paper. 2012, Southall was elected a member of the Ray Health Society, a prestigious organisation of child protection specialists based in the USA, whose main mission is to help prevent and reduce the harm resulting from child maltreatment by advancing the work of physicians in the areas of education, clinical care, research and advocacy. 2013, Southall was invited to be the editor of a special issue covering global child abuse and child protection in the medical journal Paediatrics and International Child Health. So he's still there. He's still there in the child protection, even with all these issues around him. Between 2010 and 2014, Professor Southall had been the editor of a published paper, published 921-page textbook. This book includes chapters written and reviewed by over 100 experts from around the world and addresses the hospital care of pregnant women and girls, newborn infants and children in poorly resourced countries, like Africa, where he was working when he shouldn't have been working with children and pregnant women. I guess so. The textbook is published by Radcliffe Publishers of Oxford and is being distributed to as many possible frontline health workers as possible. He also, in 1999, he got an OBE for services to childcare in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So that's the, there's loads more with this guy, loads and loads more with this guy, but you can search him up and, I don't know, make your judgment between yourselves, like for yourselves, because, okay, Munchausen syndrome by proxy, which I believe Roy Meadows was the, well, pioneer of this. He jumped on this Southall, and there was, yeah, and then that was kind of like not really called that anymore because it had so much controversy around it. Now it's called fabricated induced illness, or FII for short. I don't know. So yeah, there's loads out there. But when we look at like complaints have been going into the GMC, I believe before 2004. I believe that. I don't know it for 100% fact and I can't prove it in paperwork, so I'm just gonna say I believe that to be the case. When you look, and I'm not the hugest fan of Andrew Wakefield. I'm not the hugest fan of him, and I'm not the hugest fan of him for a reason. And the reason is when he brought in his theory with regard to the gut reaction and the MMR vaccine, whilst the GMC absolutely squashed him and he wasn't going to stand a chance, his treatment by the GMC subsequently has been an awful lot different than Meadows and Southall's. It has to be stated, Meadows and Southall both won their appeals and they were unstruck off, both of them, even though it was dodgy. And what they'd done had actually put people in prison that shouldn't have been in prison. Well, what Meadows had done anyway. Southall could have very well ended up the same, couldn't he? He could have, if he was believed, he could have ended up with Stephen Clarke in prison. That's what he wanted. That's what he wanted by going to Staffordshire Police. So when you look at the difference in how people were treated after by the General Medical Council, there is vast valleys between the two. Now, the problem I have with Andy Wakefield is he went off to America and he's been supported by a lot of people. He was supported by an awful lot of people in the UK. Yeah, his career got ruined. His career got ruined in the UK, but he knew of many other people whose careers were ruined and being ruined at the same time. And he buggered off to America, where he's done all right for himself. He's done okay for himself over in the States. But what he didn't do, and I don't understand why he didn't do it, was he didn't take the other people who were being attacked with him. You know, there were other professionals, there were psychologists, there were psychiatrists, there were plenty of people who were connecting the dots with MMR and autism and Asperger's. Like there were lots and lots. Now there were less speaking out, like there's none speaking out now because look what happened to everybody. But I wished he'd have, I don't know, rather than watch them people get squashed while he was doing all right and continues to do all right in America, he kind of, he had all the spotlight on him and he was talking about his case everywhere he could, and quite right too. He should have been able to do that and it was his story to tell. But it's a shame that he didn't pull the other people along with him that were getting attacked in the UK, because they were connecting the dots as well. And I know these people and I know their lives were absolutely ruined, and it didn't go for them the way that it went for Andrew Wakefield. So, but nonetheless, the treatment of him compared to the treatment of Southall and Meadows, it's vast distances. And this is the case with a lot of doctors that have been through the GMC. It really depends whether they are politically not that palatable, like, you know, to the medical industry, as to how it goes for them after. And then, I mean, I watched a 60 Minutes Australia, I think it was last year or the year before, and there's women in Australia that are still in prison when people have been out of prison in the UK, off of the very statistics that Roy Meadows used against mothers here who'd suffered multiple cot deaths. So the reach of these people was far and wide, and continues to be far and wide to this day. So I don't know, 23 minutes, I reckon that's more than enough of David Southall and Roy Meadows and all of it for one day. Anyway, have a good rest of your Saturday, and I'll catch up with you at some stage. Everyone's here for dinner tomorrow, so just be doing that tomorrow. And 9 ton of ironing. Ugh. Boy's new job, work shirts. Lovely. Anyway, take care, have a good rest of your day, and catch up in the week. Bye.